Before we get started, we'd like to thank EMC Bond for sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. EMC Bond prioritizes personalized service in every aspect of their business. When you partner with them, you'll receive stable, responsive, and timely solutions rooted in strong relationships. To learn more about EMC Bond, their products, services, and personalized approach, visit emcinsurance.com/bond. Now, on to our show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Get Surety. I've got with me today my co-host, Mark McCallum, CEO of NASBP.
Hey Kat, I'm back.
Thanks so much for being on with me again,
Mark.
Mark.
I love to be here.
I'm excited for our guest today.
Pretty special guest.
Very special guest. Yeah. We have with us today Monica Donatelli, Vice President of Surety at IMA, and the newest NASBP president.
Ta-da.
Holy cow, who would have guessed it? Who would have thunk it? Here we
awesome.
are. Yeah.
We're excited to have you on today and introduce you to everyone out there who may not have met you in person yet.
Yes, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you haven't met myself or my husband, Dan, you'll find us one day at a happy hour, I'm sure.
And if you have met them, you might learn something you didn't already know. So this is going to be a fun time just chatting with you, just learning a little bit about you. So, Monica, why don't we start out with how you found surety? How did you get into the surety industry?
Sure. Well, I was a banker for about a decade coming out of college, and then the banking crisis hit. And so I was part of the layoffs.
That wasn't a great time to
industry.
be a banker.
It was not a great time to be a banker. And honestly, I had started in banking as a teller in college. And so that was kind of the only path I knew. So I found myself a little later in my career and looking for what in the world do I do next? They're not hiring bankers. And I heard consistently from places that I did interview, you are so overqualified, and as soon as the economy turns, you're going to leave. And so I heard that a lot. I think it might have been a lie. It's fine, whatever. lie to me, not to your friends. It's fine, whatever, it works. But so I then had a girlfriend who worked at IMA, and she worked in HR, and we were drunk on a boat. And she said, you should send in your resume because you would love IMA. You are such a great fit, and Kansas City is really growing and becoming a bigger office, and they're looking for people.
Yeah.
So I went and I interviewed, and lo and behold, they put me in surety. And so honestly,
you found out about a drunk on a boat.
Had I but known how appropriate that was.
You had
right?
skills in numbers and socializing.
Yes.
What a great fit.
How strange. And I was drunk on a boat. That's always the best, right? I mean, yeah, it was foreshadowing for sure that I didn't know was there. Yeah.
So you started out at IMA.
I did.
And you're still with IMA.
I am still with IMA.
That's great.
How has that journey at IMA been? Where did you start out when you started at IMA?
So I started low rung on processing bonds, learning the industry, and really leaned into my underwriters and all of the wonderful people at IMA who fed into me as mentors. I met so many great people, and then that allowed me to have the opportunity to come to NASBP and got me nominated into the 515 committee. And that is really where a lot of the professional development and leadership opportunities really took hold and helped me grow myself professionally outside of where I work.
Nice.
I had so many other opportunities to grow. I just can't expand on that enough for any members. That involvement grew me professionally and in my network and my relationships more than I could have ever imagined or ever achieved in my professional role.
That's really nice that your employer, IMA, wanted to introduce you to NASBP and then supported you in your path through 515. Maybe tell us a little bit how that comes into being. So you go to an NASBP meeting, you meet people, and then how do you get connected with 515?
Yeah, so the gentleman who was the director of the Kansas City Surety team at the time had just heard of the 515 and said, hey, you should get in there, right? So he nominated me, and we did that whole process. 515 was really just getting started. So it was a newer committee. It was a smaller committee than it is today. I mean, today it's grown by leaps and bounds, and they're doing such wonderful things. And honestly, the day I became president is the day I graduated from 515. So
blessing and a curse.
Well, a little bittersweet.
Yeah.
Right? 515 has been so much to me, but that committee, I started meeting surety executives.
Right.
I networked with peers and learned where they are and learned from them and with them. That's the first committee in my entire life I've ever chaired and had that leadership position within anything.
And it's for early career producers, is that correct?
Sure. I love how you're goading me into explaining the 515. You just ask me, Mark, it's fine, I'll do it. So the 515 is for producer members who have been a producer for 5 to 15 years. So really targeting those folks who have enough of experience under their belt to really have a hold on the industry and what they're doing in their career, but also in that phase where you think you know surety and then you can go more, you can go deeper, you can learn more. And that's a great place to find ways to plug back into the industry and give back through NASBP. You get a lot out of it from NASBP, and I could tell you so many stories about the friendships that I've made, the connections that I've made, and how the opportunities for leadership, for advocacy, for all of those things that have come through NASBP. It's been such an incredible blessing to myself personally and to my career.
Well, I think you used the L word, which is really important, leadership.
Oh.
Leadership.
Yeah.
And and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Making them feel like they have the skills to be leaders as they develop, right?
Yeah,
And it
being
sounds
leaders
like
of this
that was your
association.
path. Yep.
Honestly, I would have told you I didn't know that I wanted to be a leader, but I consistently would be put in that spot in groups. You kind of find that sometimes in school or whatnot, or maybe you've never been given that opportunity.
Right.
And once you are in a position where you see other people leading and what they're doing, and you realize they're real people just like me, maybe I need to step in and see how that goes. And having that forum in a safe space to really practice those skills. Walking into a business meeting, I used to be that nervous Nelly prepping like crazy and trying to figure it out. And honestly, I walk in now and I'm like, I am enough and it's good. We're going to be fine. There's a confidence that comes with that was built through those experiences.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about how you developed that confidence. I mean, and the fact that, you decided to take advantage of this, but you had to have the support.
Yes.
And then by doing that, you built the confidence to grow your leadership, right?
Absolutely.
That is really
Absolutely.
cool.
Honestly, for employers, I think about right now, especially when there's such this fight for talent, right? There is such a need for great talent, and that talent is hungry for development.
Yep.
They want development. They want opportunities to grow themselves, expand their influence, and all of that is a part of it. NASBP can be a tool to employers to retain talent by giving them those opportunities in a form they might not have within their immediate business practice.
Yeah, that's great.
I just think it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you found your purpose in this.
There's a stability in that purpose. Like stability through purpose should be a theme for someone's year as president of
Sounds like
NASBP.
an excellent theme.
I think I'll consider it.
Yeah.
Because of you, Mark, I'll do it. I've made up my mind. It's happening. We're doing it.
You're on
That's
the
the theme.
spot. You're
That's
on
the
the
theme.
spot.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Right. Breaking news. If you weren't at the meeting, that's the theme.
Well, and you mentioned, Monica, in 515, you also were able to do the mentoring program as part of that.
Oh my gosh.
Did that help with developing your leadership and the skills that you needed to move into a leadership role?
It did that and so much more. So my mentor in the 515 was Matt Cashin. If you've gone to surety school, you probably know Matt Cashin. If you've been to NASBP, you probably know Matt Cashin. He is an incredible advocate for our industry, for NASBP. He is an incredible human being and brings so much. And I will tell you,
Past president.
Thank you. Yeah. Matt is amazing, and Matt honestly took me under his wing. He took me to different meetings so that I could, and introduced me to people. I mean, anyone he met, I was with him, and I was there alone, right? So you have that awkwardness. Matt took me to everyone. He introduced me to everyone. And then Matt said, you have to do more. You have to teach. And I smiled and said, I'm not a teacher. And he said, no, you have to teach. And I go, Matt, not my bag. And he said, okay, well, we're kind of trying to grow the fly-in. You have to do that then. And I thought, one day versus a week of teaching, well, I'll take that option right there. So again, not really fully in my space of where I'm really confident in a lot of those things at that time. And so I did the fly-in. There were probably, a handful or two handfuls of people at that first fly-in. It was not very big when the first one that I attended. I was scared out of my wits to go into congressional offices, and why would they listen to me? I'm a Kansas farm kid. No one cares what I have to say.
I feel like a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah,
It's very, it can be intimidating.
It is intimidating
yeah.
to go up there.
It was
but it's
so-
not, right?
It shouldn't be, right?
The first one, I walk in, and honestly, I did 3 that day, and there were
Yeah.
other Kansas folks with me in the surety industry,
Right.
so that I had people with me. But I came out with such a high.
Yeah.
I was on cloud 9. I felt like, holy cow, I actually did something today. I spoke to our federal government and could influence things that could make such an impact across our entire country, even the world. Like, it was so accessible, and I don't think
Yeah.
I
Right.
expected that.
Yeah.
And so that, and I will say, NASBP does so many amazing events. That's my favorite.
The
It always
fly-in,
has
yeah.
been. I am a huge proponent of advocacy, especially the grassroots advocacy of membership and our affiliate members in their local spaces. Because the reality is NASBP can support, but nothing speaks like a constituent and a taxpayer
Correct.
to
Yep.
Good
a public
point.
official
Yeah.
of a city, of a state. And your federal reps, guess what? They have offices in your state too.
Yep.
So if you can't make the fly-in, take the materials and go sit down. You might actually get a longer talk with them than
Right.
you will in DC.
Yeah.
It's accessible to everyone. And I would have told you I am not a political person. I will still tell you I am not a political person.
Right.
I fell in love with it. And it is something I did not expect.
Well, and you've
so
continued.
grateful. Oh my
You've
God.
continued with that.
I
So
am
that was
there
like
every
your
day.
entry, and you
Absolutely.
continued to go on.
So I want to ask you about a recent leadership experience you had in Kansas
Yeah.
for kind of advocacy. But before we get there, I don't want to leave the thought. I was like, when you met with that, and I don't know if it was a member of Congress or their staff, what was that like? I mean, were they looking at you like, hey, why are you here? Or were they like, hey, you're the subject matter expert. I want to learn about this.
Yeah, they were honestly at the table ready to devour whatever information that we gave them. They were very curious. They wanted to be in the conversation and understand what was important that we wanted to get across. The nice thing about the fly-in is you have the opportunity beforehand with a virtual seminar to really understand the process and what we're going to talk
Okay.
about. And then you also have time prior to ask questions of the NASBP and SFAA, leaders of the government relations portion of those two institutions, or associations, I guess I should say, to ask the questions. Like, what do they want to hear from me? What's the topic? I need more information here, so that you have everything you need. Many times you may only get out what is surety.
Right.
And
but that's an important
But-
message
Yeah.
in and of itself, right?
honestly, if we show up to protect our product and the value that it brings to the taxpayers of the
Yep.
entire country, right, our global economy at large, if we look at protecting that once an attack has already been brought, guys, we're on defense
too late.
immediately.
Yep.
So playing offense is honestly the best way to do it. So if you think about it, if we do our jobs well, no one knows we ever existed. And when you're looking at budgets, when you're looking at different challenges, how easy is it to cut out something that you say, well, we've never had an issue.
Yeah.
You've never had an issue because we're here.
Right.
And so getting that message across so that more people in positions to influence those things know that. And even if, one of the really exciting things early on with the fly-ins is one of the aides that we spoke to, I asked him where he's from, and he's like, oh, you've never heard of it. And I said, try me.
Yeah.
I'm a small town Kansas farm kid.
Right.
You try me. What do you think? And he said, Kinsley, Kansas. And I go, you play football? And he said, yeah. I go, my brother is Tony. And he goes, Coach T is
Yeah.
your brother? And it's
Small
just
world. Yep.
absolutely
That's great.
that connected.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
that aide called 3 or 4 times that next year when legislation was going
Wow.
through,
Yep.
saying, hey, I got this on my desk. Boss and I were talking through it, and is there room for surety in something like this? And so I would get that up to Larry LeClaire and Mark McCallum, yourself, to say, hey guys, can we respond?
But you
Yeah.
made the personal connection
Yes.
to a constituent, and they
Yeah.
knew they now had a resource.
Yes.
So they wouldn't make a decision in a vacuum. They had a resource to go to and ask a question.
If that's all that you get out
Yeah.
of those meetings, they don't
It's-
need to be a
it's
subject
huge.
matter
That is
expert,
huge.
but the fact that they know, hey, there's something here that is
Right.
good, and I know who to call to make sure that we keep the good, that
Yeah.
you won, right? And so playing offense and having our members and affiliate members playing offense regularly, you get in that cadence
Yeah.
once a year. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
But you get in that cadence, and all of a sudden, those phone calls start coming in, and the resources of NASBP and SFAA to fuel your efforts and to support them and bring in the ASA, Association of Subcontractors, and
stakeholder organizations.
all of those relationships that the associations have throughout impactful parts of our industry. Guys, that access is available to every single member, and I don't know that it's utilized enough. And playing offense is the best way to make sure we don't have to, really fight all the time.
Yeah.
But we have it when we need to fight, so get it and use that.
Yeah,
I'm going to make you really busy, Mark.
Well, that's all right. That's what we're there for. And I love, the federal advocacy is so important, and and the fly-in is one of the vehicle for that, to connect constituents with their representatives. But you had a really interesting opportunity for a local advocacy recently in Kansas on a very important bill.
It's not just federal.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that as well?
Sure. We have a client. They sent in, a request for a bond, and we were reading through the contract, and it's with the state of Kansas. So it should be pretty benign, right? There's nothing there. And there was one form in there that's kind of just a checklist to make sure you have all the pieces.
Yeah.
Number 7 or 9, I can't remember which one on that checklist, made a comment that the state would not waive any rights that it should have, right?
Okay.
And so we said, well, okay, the contract looks fine.
But what does
that mean?
Yeah.
And so we asked the question, didn't really get an answer. Client went ahead and bid it. And what that meant after they were awarded is that the state struck the mutual waiver of consequential damages in the standard general conditions.
That sounded pretty ambiguous, so I'm not sure you could have gotten there very easily without more information.
Yeah, consequential damages, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
It can really sink a contractor very quickly.
Yeah.
It could. So fortunately, our contractor had a lot of resources at their disposal, their legal team. They had a lot of things and a lot of great connections. And working with them, a bill was proposed to make mutual waiver standard in Kansas and not something that can be.
So they couldn't just dismiss it.
Yep. And this form, by the way, had been around, I think, since 2002 or some time frame. It's been there a long time. They just hadn't interpreted it that way until recently.
Okay.
And
was that new employees in the agency?
We never found out. Right. We never found out. And they said, well, we've had lots of other people sign this contract. And I said, you probably haven't had anyone else understand that you struck it. Right. They probably assumed it was what it was on bid day and didn't notice that had been stricken. Right. So the bill was presented, and myself, along with our client and members of ASA, we went and we testified before the Kansas Senate.
What was that like?
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
It is. Do you know that it's on YouTube? You can go watch it live, or you can watch the recorded sessions.
Perhaps.
So if you're not getting enough,
did you watch?
Somebody watched it.
Yeah.
I was so nervous. That might have been. I'm not a great public speaker, but that was.
You did not seem nervous.
No, you didn't.
By me watching
just
it.
a duck, baby.
It was good.
Chilling on the water.
Now, what was that like? So, did you get any instructions about how to, give testimony and all
Honestly, the first place I went was NASBP. I reached out and I said, hey guys, how do I do this? What do I do? And they said, okay, every state's different. Every committee's going to be a little bit different. Here's a resource page for the committee. Here's what we see. Here's what we believe you need to do. Would be a great idea to check with the person who kind of runs the committees. She kind of manages all of it.
There's a staff usually that will organize the hearing.
Yeah, and that contact was at the top of the page. And so you should probably communicate with her. And I did, and she's like, you need to have it here in 2 hours. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm feverishly typing my written testimony.
Yeah.
And then I did my oral testimony, kind of wrote a little different, but kind of same concepts for later. So I did my written testimony.
And they appreciate that, by the way, that it's not just reading your written testimony, that you're going to select what you think is most important in that moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
I made a choice in that testimony to speak as a Kansas taxpayer.
Okay.
And I gave my credentials within surety and working with contractors across the country and contractual terms across the country and what is common and those sort of things. But I really honed in because I thought, ASA is going to hit it from a business perspective.
Right.
And our client is going to hit it from the construction perspective. I can hit it from the surety perspective, but I'm also a taxpayer in Kansas.
Right, absolutely.
And I want there to be fair competitive bidding in Kansas. And if we eliminate the ability for firms to go be a part of this contractual process because we make it prohibitive with some of the contractual terms, that's not good for me as a Kansan.
Right.
And so that's the way that I chose to present it. I don't think I could have gone many different ways. And that's the way I chose to present it.
Without that competition, what happens to pricing?
Yeah.
Those projects.
Absolutely. And what happens, you know, when the consequential damages, it's when those are in a place where you can, they struck the mutual waiver, but they kept the contractor's liability, right? So for the state could put good contractors out of business at their whim. And we all know governmental agencies, those things can go on in perpetuity.
Right.
Statutes of limitations don't really apply when they think that they're right. And I have watched some of those processes unfold in other states and federally, and that process can take even the best of a contractor, can burn through their cash so incredibly fast, even if in the end they're determined to have been correct, the damage is done.
Right.
Over sometimes a decade.
Yeah.
Right. So making sure it's right up front. We always say, you know, why does the surety need, clients will ask, why do you guys need to review the contract before the bid? Why, like, it's, you know, it's fine, we can talk about that later. And the answer is, do you really want to fight about it once you're under contract?
Right.
Or do you want to go in eyes wide open and have those conversations ahead of time so that when or if things get contentious in that contract, you guys have already agreed upon terms that are fair, because no one's going to be fair when things are going south.
Well, it's so much easier to have a conversation when we're all friends.
Right? That's the better way to say it. I made that long-winded. You did a better job. I love it. I love it.
Having that purpose of educating them, it's, you know, you're stabilizing the the contractual.
Did you just try to get my theme
requirements.
into that comment,
Perhaps,
Mark? You did a great
perhaps.
job. You did a great job.
And we have been teasing your theme a little bit, Monica.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed all of them then. Dang it. Okay. I got to get
What is
sharper.
your theme for the year?
Yeah, my theme is stability through purpose. Not a big flashy theme, but very much built on, NASBP has been built brick by brick, purposefully, with leadership and staff over 84 years. That's a long time.
It is.
And that foundation is what allows us to see all the wins in the world and to narrow our focus and say, okay, but we just have to do what we do well and stick to our purpose. And there's stability no matter what storm comes, no matter what pressures come. We can clearly come back to that purpose and stand strong within that and be that strong, stable industry and association that we have been for so long.
Nice. What a great message.
I know. And it sounds like, I mean, having talked through your 515 experience and your GR, government relations experience.
Oh my gosh, I
that
love
must have really
government
played into coming up with this theme and
Yeah.
wanting to focus.
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing about coming up with the theme for your year, the second that you are in the executive committee, everyone asks, what's your theme? What's your theme? What's your theme? And I would tell you that the folks that I worked with on the executive committee, served with on the executive committee for the last few years, asked that incessantly. I think it was frustrating to them because the answer was consistently, not yet, it'll come. It's fine. Very laissez-faire, right? Because again, I'm that duck. I'm calm, cool, everything's great, none to service. My brain's like trying to figure out what's going to happen. But that purpose, whatever you come up with for your theme, there is this pressure to make it authentic to who you are, to make it meaningful to the association and the members. And then there's this weird pressure to make it like totally awesome. It's going to blow everybody's mind and it's so great, but not like so outrageous that you screw stuff up or mar the reputation. You know what I mean? So you're sitting there trying to toe a line. And
You want to keep that stability.
Right. And so on, God dang, keep doing it. So in that, like I thought about the themes of the past presidents before, right? The men and women who have come before and remembering those. And then those gentlemen that I was with and seeing how their themes truly were authentic to who they are. You know, Patrick Pribble, all in, degenerate gambler, questionable. But, you know, hey, it worked either way. But so their themes really matched who they were and how they led. And so I wanted that to be the same for me as well.
I mean, it does provide energy for that year.
It does.
And direction. So beyond your theme, are there certain priorities you see coming in this year that you really want to pursue and attain?
Mark, we talked about government relations and advocacy. Day one coming in, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we have had some challenges in the industry of late that really, honestly, guys, like, thanks. You led perfectly into my year. I don't know how that worked out, but it really, really did. But that's always been obviously, we're going to further all of the initiatives that we work on. NASBP does so much. You know, I sit in the board meetings, executive committee meetings, and I just feel like every time I take notes, I'm like, holy crud, we're doing what? That's fantastic. I can't believe there's so many moving parts and so much. The staff does so much, but so much from the member volunteers, right? That's where those leadership opportunities and those opportunities to really make a difference come in.
It's true.
Yep.
So advocacy, Mark, is my answer, and not just at the federal.
Make everybody an activist. Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be
Because
great?
we're always going to have a need, right?
It's true.
Always a need to educate, always a need to take action, because, you know, let's face it, we're not always understood, and we're important. And so it can't just be a few individuals, right?
Right.
So you're going to make everybody
there's
an
going to
advocate.
be. This
for
is
the
a
industry, and I
dictatorship,
like
people.
that.
So no, it's
No,
going to be
but-
forced
You're
upon
getting
all.
the secret out.
Right.
But it's
right.
important for the very reasons you articulated earlier about making that personal connection, taking action at both federal level, and there's a state component to that, right? And then also locally.
Yeah.
And we need people. We need people.
And, you know, not everyone can make it to DC, and the reality is where better to be impactful than
Right.
where you live and where you work. And you have such a loud voice. You're a voter.
You have cred.
You have
cred.
street cred.
Street cred.
You're a voter. You're a taxpayer.
Yep.
You matter there. And NASBP can come in, we can bring that larger national presence, but when it comes to a state or a city matter, they really don't care much about what a federal or a large national association thinks, or they'll take it as, okay, that's informational, great.
Yeah.
But when you have someone who is a voter and a taxpayer looking you in the eye and saying, this is not good for anybody, you and our industry included, but focusing on you because everyone's more concerned about themselves than anybody else, right? But if our members can find that space to do that comfortably, to have a coffee with their representative, you know, at a city council meeting or wherever that might be, man, that sets us up for stability with purpose.
Love it.
The theme is through purpose, but I said with because I fit better there. But I was trying.
Yeah.
That sets us up for stability into the future. So when these things come up, the Utah that we talked about, you know, Utah faced an attack that literally was introduced and voted on the same day. So no one knew what was happening.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
That happened that quickly. No one in that room except the person who introduced it knew anything about surety. And so it seemed like it made sense, right? So if those people had any inkling of, wait a minute, there's something more to this, perhaps there would have been an opportunity for a pause on that for a different consideration.
Right.
So not saying that would have worked in that situation, but wouldn't it have been nice if they knew enough to know they didn't know enough?
But how do you uncover that ahead of time? By being actively engaged,
That's
right?
true.
Yep.
So you don't get to that unfair surprise.
Without, I mean, again, it could be a yearly visit to your state capital, right? To just inform a representative.
Yep.
Make a friend on the committees that could potentially have any impact on our product. And even if you don't, I mean, it might be impossible to hit all of them, but if you have 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 people in a state going, you're going to hit most of them, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to be impactful that way.
Yeah, so important.
Talking about that purpose of advocacy with you,
Yes.
Monica, I am excited for this year and the stability through purpose that we're going to experience.
Man, do I have to pay you guys every time you say it? Put it in there? Is that what this is?
There's a bonus, yeah.
Man, oh, this is a setup for the start. I should have asked more questions. Okay, I should have given you the wrong thing just to see how that worked out.
But it's been great talking with you. I know I learned more about you, and I'm sure everyone listening did as well. Thanks for being on with
thanks
us.
for
Maybe
being
we'll
here.
have
So
you
much.
back again to talk about some of those advocacy initiatives that happened over the year.
That sounds great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.
Before we go, we just wanted to thank EMC Bond again for their generous support in sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. EMC Bond prioritizes personalized service in every aspect of their business. When you partner with them, you'll receive stable, responsive, and timely solutions rooted in strong relationships. To learn more about EMC Bond, their products, services, and personalized approach, visit emcinsurance.com/bond.